All right, so hi guys, this is Dr. Christopher Dakanay, or you can call me Dr. Toff, and we're going to continue our discussion in General Chemistry Board Exam Review. So now we're going to discuss now about solutions. Okay, this is in liquid state. All right, so solutions, these refers to a combination of a solute and solvent, and between the two, mas marami po lagi ang concentration ng solvent kaysa sa solute. Okay? Kasi po kapag nangyari po na yung solute ay naging mas madami kaysa sa solvent, you will be calling that now as a supersaturated solution. Okay? So supersaturated na siya. Wherein, it is a condition wherein precipitation now will happen. So usually po, when we have a normal solution, we have the solute and the solvent, at ang solvent po ay laging mas marami sa solute in order for us to dissolve completely the solute. Okay? Because when you say solution, this is a one-phase system. Again, my dear students, when we say solution, it's a one-phase system. So, pag sinabi po nating one phase, ibig sabihin isang state of matter lang siya. So, kahit pa po meron kang solute that is solid, when you add it to the solvent that is liquid, when you combine the two, all right, you will always end up with a one phase system. You call that a solution. Doc, paano po? Meron po akong solute, hinalo ko po siya sa solvent, pero po yung solute na yun, hindi siya completely nag-dissolve. Do I still call that a solution? Actually, hindi po. Hindi na siya solution. Because when you say solution, it's one phase. So kung nagkaroon ka ng more than one phase, okay, it's not anymore a solution. It's another type of mixture. You call that suspension. Okay? You call that suspension. Now, Doc, ano po ang pagkakaiba ng supersaturated solution versus a suspension? Kasi sabi niyo po kanina, kung sakali po na naghalo tayo ng solute sa solvent at hindi na dissolve si solute, pwede siyang tawaging supersaturated solution. Eh ngayon po, pinakilala niyo po sa amin ang konsepto ng suspension, medyo nalilito po kami. Alright, so here's the thing. When you say solution or when you say suspension versus supersaturated solution, pareho po sila na hindi nakadissolve ang solute sa solvent. Okay, but here's the difference. Pag supersaturated solution po, once you agitate it or you manipulate it, like for example, you increase the temperature of the solvent, there is still a possibility that the solute will be able to dissolve in the solvent. Pero pag suspension po, kahit na anong manipulation ang gawin mo, hindi na siya madi-dissolve. Okay? That's the difference. So, we go now to the different factors affecting solubility. Number one factor is the nature of the solute and solvent. Okay? So, remember the concept, like dissolves like. So, ano pong ibig sabihin yan? The rule states that polar solutes dissolve in polar solvents. Non-polar solutes dissolve in non-polar solvent. Yun po yung meaning ng statement na like dissolves like, which I know everyone knows that already. So for example, you have a polar compound, then you must use a polar solvent in order for you to dissolve that. Okay? Example of polar solvents, you have your waters, okay, alcohol, etc. Okay? Even carboxylic acids that can also be considered as a polar compound. On the other hand, when you have a non-polar compound, you should be using a non-polar solvent in order for you to dissolve that. Examples of your non-polar solvent, you have your hexanes, which is an alkane or a hydrocarbon. You can also use your ethers. Okay, so yun yung mga most common example nun. Okay, so that's the number one factor, nature of solute and solvent. Another factor is temperature. Okay? So generally speaking po, the higher the temperature, the higher will be the solubility. Again, the higher the temperature, the higher will be the solubility. That's a general rule. But that is not true all the time. So most of the time, that's true. Okay, so that's a general rule. So in order for you to understand that and always remember it, isipin mo na lang guys, tuwing nagtitimpla kayo ng coffee or nagtitimpla kayo ng Milo, Para mas mabilis nyong ma-dissolve yung tinimpla nyong kape or tinimpla nyong Milo, saan nyo siya ilalagay? Sa malamig na tubig or mainit na tubig? Of course, nilalagay mo siya sa mas mainit na tubig. Bakit? Kasi sabi natin, an increase in temperature increase solubility. I-try mo magtimpla ng kape or magtimpla ng Milo at gumamit ka ng ice cold water. Madidissolve ba yan? Di ba hindi? Kahit paanong halo ang gawin mo, it won't be completely dissolved. Explanation, sabi natin, an increase in temperature will increase solubility. Okay? And vice versa. Such that a decrease in temperature, kung mas malamig, decrease ang solubility. That's the general rule. Alright? However, we have always exceptions to the rule, just like this one. In cases of exothermic solutions, again, in cases of exothermic solutions, an increase in temperature will decrease solubility. Okay? So, ibig sabihin po, sa mga exothermic solutions or exothermic substances, the more na mas mainit, the more na hindi sila nadidissolve. Or, the more na mas malamig, mas nadidissolve sila. Dok, may ganyan po bang substance? Meron. Number one example, that is always as in the board exam is calcium hydroxide. Okay? So calcium hydroxide, my dear students, remember, is an exothermic substance. So ano pong ibig sabihin yan? Kung yan po ay exothermic substance, the higher the temperature, the lesser is the solubility. Or the lower the temperature, the higher is the solubility. Kaya nga po, sabi natin dito, your calcium hydroxide, okay, dissolves best in cold temperature. So, naalala mo pa ba nung first year or second year ka wherein you had an experiment or you had a preparation in your dosage form laboratory or manufacturing laboratory regarding calcium hydroxide topical solution? Naalala po ba? Nung gumawa kayo ng ganyan, calcium hydroxide topical solution or calcium hydroxide lotion. Ito po yung preparation or experiment kung saan ang sabi ng professor ninyo, bring ice cubes. Okay, so ito yon. Bakit? Because, again, the colder the temperature, the more it gets dissolved. Because calcium hydroxide is an example of, very good, an exothermic substance. Okay, ano pa? Solution of gas in liquid. Same thing. An increase in temperature will decrease solubility. Okay? Or a decrease in temperature will increase solubility. So those are the exceptions to the rule. Okay? They are the exceptions to the rule. Is that clear? All right. So, the last factor that could affect solubility is pressure. What's the relationship? The higher the pressure, the higher the solubility of gas in a liquid. And that is summarized by the Henry's law. So remember, Henry's law, increased pressure, increased solubility of gas in a liquid. So in order for you to remember that, always apply it to your everyday life. Sige, tulungan ko kayo. Halimbawa, isipin mo or imaginein mo ang favorite mong soft drinks. Sino dito mga kagaya ko na may favorite sa Pepsi? Okay? Or kahit ano soft drinks ang gusto mo. Yan. So, imaginein mo ang soft drinks na favorite mo. Pag bibilin mo siya, saan siya nakalagay? Nasa ref o nasa labas? Most of the time, naka-ref siya. Tama ba? And most of them or all of them are pressurized. Okay? So, remember the two factors. Yung soft drinks natin, all of them are carbonated drinks, tama ba? And all of them require a lower temperature, kaya siya naka-ref, and all of them are pressurized because they require a higher pressure. So, bakit po ba? Ano ang ganap? Okay? Because these soft drinks contain carbon dioxide. Okay? Carbon dioxide gas. Na dinidissolve natin siya sa liquid solvent, okay, or sa liquid matrix ng ating soft drinks. Okay? So, Doc, ano po ba ang gamit ng carbon dioxide? Bakit lahat ng mga soft drinks are carbonated or with carbon dioxide? Because carbon dioxide increases palatability. Okay? It increases palatability. So, same thing po sa mga gamot natin like your effervescent tablets, effervescent granules, all of these pharmaceutical preparations will later on release carbon dioxide. So, isipin mo, ano ba ang gamit niyan? So, this was once asked in the board exam. Bakit daw po nag-a-add tayo ng carbon dioxide in pharmaceutical preparations? Example, your effervescent granules and effervescent tablets. Letter A, is it because it increases stability? Letter B, is it because it increases the half-life? Letter C, is it because it increases solubility? Or letter D, none of the above? The answer is none of the above because the addition of carbon dioxide, again, has no other use except to increase palatability. In short, para masarap siya. So therefore, yan po ang reason bakit masarap ang carbonated drinks or soft drinks because it contains carbon dioxide. Okay, kaya siya carbonated. Yun ang reason bakit masarap ang Coke at lahat ng soft drinks na kilala natin. So, in order for us to dissolve carbon dioxide in the liquid matrix of our soft drinks, we will be requiring two factors. Since this is a gas in a liquid, anong sabi natin? What's the rule? Hindi ba? An increase in the temperature will decrease solubility or a decrease in temperature will increase solubility. So therefore, kung gusto po natin na ma-dissolve, okay? Kung gusto po natin na ma-dissolve si carbon dioxide sa liquid matrix, gusto natin na i-decrease ang temperature so that when we decrease the temperature, we are going to increase its solubility to our liquid matrix. Okay? Ano pa? How do we increase its solubility? Again, it's a gas in a liquid. Okay? So in order for us to increase that, we should add pressure. That's the reason why our carbonated drinks are pressurized and are put in a refrigerator to maintain the high pressure, to maintain the low temperature in order for us to have an increase in solubility. So isipin mo, pag bumili ka ng soft drinks mo, pagbukas mo ng bote, anong maririnig mo? Correct. Tss, may maririnig kang ganon. Ano ba ang ibig sabihin nun? That refers to the pressure being released from the bottle. So kapag na-release ang pressure, this one, na-release, bababa. Kasi binuksan mo eh. So bababa ang pressure. What happens now to the solubility of the gas or the solubility of carbon dioxide? Bababa din. Hindi na siya magiging soluble. So mawawala po yung carbon dioxide doon sa soft drinks natin. Okay? And it would appear as bubbles. So yung bubbles na nakikita natin pag nagbubuhos tayo ng soft drinks, hindi po yun acid. Yun po yung mga carbon dioxide na kumakawala, na hindi na sila soluble. Tapos itry mo na iwanan yung soft drinks mo dyan hanggang sa uminit na siya, hanggang sa tumaas ang temperature niya. E di lalo pong hindi na magiging soluble yung carbon dioxide. Lalong aalis yung carbon dioxide. Okay? Again, ano ang gamit ng carbon dioxide? To increase palatability. So ngayon, try mong uminom ng mainit na Coke at Coke na matagal nang nakabukas. Masarap pa ba? Hindi na. Kasi po, kumawala na yung carbon dioxide. Okay? So that's the reason. Okay? So next, we go to chemical thermodynamics. Let's define terms first. We have here a thermodynamic system which is a part of the universe isolated from the rest, okay, by a boundary. Okay? So you call everything outside the thermodynamic system as surrounding. So these are just two key terms that you need to remember. So generally speaking, we have three types of thermodynamic system. We have open. Since nakabukas siya, tawag doon non-conservative. Pag nakasara naman, closed or conservative. Pag isolated, you call it adiabatic. Okay? So, ito pong mga thermodynamic system na to allows exchange of either matter or energy. So kapag sinabi po natin na open thermodynamic system, bukas. So it allows exchange both of matter and energy. Kasi nga bukas siya. Pag conservative naman, pa-virgin, closed yan. So ano lang ang ina-allow niya na exchange? Energy lang. No exchange of matter. Okay? Kapag sinabi nating isolated or adiabatic, no exchange of matter or energy. You call it isolated thermodynamic system. Pag wala po sa choice si isolated, kindly choose adiabatic because they are one and the same. Okay? So, with regards to the thermodynamic principles, we have three laws. The three laws of thermodynamics. So, my dear students, iba po ito sa laws of motion. Yung laws of motion, that's inertia, acceleration, and law of interaction. Iba po yun. We're talking about the laws of thermodynamics. So, basahin mabuti ang tanong. Okay? So when they ask you about the laws of thermodynamics, then we have the three. First law, second law, and the third law of thermodynamics. I have here the keywords for your board exam. So ito yung pabaon ko para sa board exam ninyo. You don't have to memorize word by word what is stated in each law of thermodynamics because you are not taking the engineering licensure exam. This is the pharmacy boards. So basic lang po ang tinatanong and I'm going to teach you the keywords. Okay? So, pag nakita nyo po sa questionnaire nyo ang statement na conservation of energy or ano bang ibig sabihin niyan? Energy is not created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. That's the concept of conservation of energy. Then that is referring to the first law of thermodynamics. Again, law of conservation of energy, that's the first law. Okay? And it also states that the energy of the universe is constant. What's the reason? I already told you. Energy cannot be created nor be destroyed. It can only be transformed. That's the first law of thermodynamics. Next, we have the second law of thermodynamics. There are two keywords that you need to take note. Number one is entropy. Entropy refers to the state of disorderliness. Again, entropy refers to a state of disorderliness. State po yan ng kaguluhan ng molecules in a system. So pag nakita nyo po yan, word na entropy, that is referring to the second law of thermodynamics. Another keyword is your Gibbs free energy. Doc, ano po ang Gibbs free energy? That is also known as your GFE. This is the expendable amount of energy that any thermodynamic system can spend. Okay? And we have three types of Gibbs free energy. Meron tayong negative Gibbs, positive Gibbs, and zero Gibbs. Okay? So, let's start first with the easy one. When the Gibbs free energy is equal to zero, okay, it means equal or the thermodynamic system is in equilibrium. Okay, that's the Gibbs free energy if it is zero. So again, pag zero po, it is in equilibrium. When your Gibbs free energy is negative, okay, it means that the thermodynamic system or the reaction involving the thermodynamic system would be spontaneous. Spontaneous, effortless. Magpro-proceed agad-agad if the Gibbs free energy is negative. Okay? On the other hand, if the Gibbs free energy is positive, okay, it will result to a non-spontaneous reaction. So ulit, kapag zero, equilibrium. Pag negative, spontaneous. Pag positive Gibbs, non-spontaneous. All right? So these are the things that you need to remember. Negative, spontaneous. Positive, non-spontaneous. Zero, equilibrium. Ano ang lumabas sa board exam? Tinanong po ang Gibbs free energy that is equal to zero. What's the answer? State of equilibrium. Next would be the third law of thermodynamics, which states that the entropy of a pure crystalline is equal to zero. So anong keyword dito? Entropy, pero hindi lang pure entropy, pero entropy of a pure crystalline. Ito ang tatandaan. Pag nakita nyo ito, kahit pa isang page yung tanong, basta nakita nyo po yung statement na entropy of a pure crystalline is equal to zero, automatic, kindly answer third law of thermodynamics. All right? So we move now to chemical equilibrium. So ano naman po yan? Chemical equilibrium refers to a statement wherein, or a condition wherein the amount of reactant and products present are constant. So it only means that product is equal to reactant or reactant is equal to product. Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng chemical equilibrium. And this is governed by a famous principle in chemistry. We call it the Le Chatelier's principle. So among all the principles, theories, and laws in chemistry, this is my personal favorite, the Le Chatelier's principle. So let's take a look. Ano bang sinasabi niya? Sabi po ng Le Chatelier's principle, if a system is subjected to stress, the system will adjust to relieve the stress. So di ba napakaganda? So if meron daw na system na na-subject sa stress, the system will do everything. It will adjust to relieve the stress. Hindi ba? Dapat tayo, gayahin natin ang Le Chatelier's principle. Wherein, pag meron tayong source ng stress, we must learn how to adapt. We must learn how to adjust in order for us to relieve the stress. Okay? So yun po ang napakaganda na sinasabi ng Le Chatelier's principle. So again, when a system is subjected to stress, the system will adjust to relieve the stress. So what are these stresses? Number one would be concentration. It can also be pressure and volume. It can also be temperature. All right, so these are the following stresses. So how do we apply this in the board exam? Okay, so for example, we have here a reactant, okay, resulting now to a product. So let's make this reaction a reversible one. So reactant resulting to a product. All right, so ngayon, sabi po ng Le Chatelier's principle is that, okay, if ever this system is subjected to stress, it will adjust to relieve the stress. So normally, okay, normally, reactant now will proceed to become a product. So you call this reaction as reaction going to the right. Okay, going to the right. Okay, or shift to the right. So in case we have a high concentration of reactant, the system now will adjust to relieve this stress. So for example, your stress here is the concentration. So if marami tayong masyadong concentration ng reactant, then ibabaling niya yan. I-adjust niya yan to relieve the stress. So there would be a shift to the right. Kung masyado naman pong maraming product, okay, masyadong maraming product, then ano ang magiging shift? Shift to the left. So ganun lamang po. The system will adjust to relieve the stress. Kung masyadong mataas ang pressure and volume dito sa reactant, then it will shift to the right. Kung masyadong mataas naman dito sa product, it will shift to the left. Paano po kung masyadong mataas ang temperature ng product? What would be the shift? Shift to the left. Paano pag masyadong mataas ang temperature ng reactant? What would be the shift? Shift to the right. Paano naman po pag masyadong mataas ang concentration ng catalyst dito sa reactant? What would be the shift? Okay, not shift to the right, but no shift. So remember, catalyst, kahit gaano pa kadami, they cause no shift in equilibrium. So yan po ang tinatanong sa board exam. So sino yung, or anong mangyayari? Mag-shift to the left ba? Shift to the right. Okay? And also when they ask you, when you add a catalyst, or when there is a high concentration of catalyst, ano ang magiging shift? The answer is no shift. Okay? Because catalysts, for example, enzymes, they are participating in the reaction, but they are not directly involved in the reaction. kumbaga, pantulong lang sila. Hindi sila tunay na kasali. Andun lamang sila, pantulong lang po. Kaya po, kung dumami sila, sabi natin, hindi sila tunay na kasali. Kaya po, they will not cause any shift in equilibrium. Alright? That's the presence of the catalyst. Alright? So that's your chemical equilibrium. Now we have ionic equilibrium. Okay? Pag sinabi po nating ionic equilibrium, ito po ay tinatawag din nating acid-base equilibrium. Okay? Wherein electrolytes now can dissociate to become ions, or electrolytes become ionized. That's your ionic equilibrium or acid-base equilibrium. All right? So we have here acids and bases. All right? Acids and bases. So let's have a checkpoint. Can you fill in the blanks? Can you fill in the blanks? We have here three different theories regarding acids and bases. Arrhenius, Bronsted-Lowry, and Lewis theory. I'll give you 3 minutes. Fill in the blanks. Alright? Nag-fill in ba o nag-aantay ng sagot from me? Try to fill in the blanks. Okay? Try to dig in your deepest memories from first year. I know you can still do it. All right, last 1 minute. All right, so we will now fill in the blank. So, ano po ba ibig sabihin nitong theories regarding acids and bases? So meron po tayong tatlo, Arrhenius, Bronsted-Lowry, and Lewis theory. So marahil in the past narinig nyo na Arrhenius acid, Bronsted-Lowry acid, Bronsted-Lowry base. Wag po kayong malito, para lang po siyang gospel according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Ibig sabihin, isang kwento lang, apat na version. Parang ganito. Acid according to Arrhenius. Acid according to Bronsted-Lowry. Ganun lang ibig sabihin nitong theories na ito. So, sinasabi po ni Arrhenius na acid ka basta ikaw ay merong hydrogen ion or H plus or hydronium ion. So, H plus or H3O, you call that hydrogen ion or hydronium ion. Yun ang sabi niya. Alright. And according to Arrhenius, base ka kapag ikaw ay may, okay, ano sabi ni Arrhenius? Base ka naman daw kapag ikaw ay may OH or hydroxide. Yan ang sabi ni Arrhenius. Kaya lang, sabi ni Bronsted-Lowry, Arrhenius, paano naman yung mga acids and bases na walang H at OH? Sabi ni Arrhenius, di gumawa ka ng sarili mong theory. So therefore, gumawa ng sariling theory si Bronsted and Lowry. Anong sabi ni Bronsted and Lowry? Acid ka, basta ikaw ay proton donor. Alright? And base ka, basta ikaw ay proton acceptor. Yan ang sabi ni Bronsted-Lowry. Acid ka, proton donor. Base ka, proton acceptor. So paano tandaan? PDA, proton donor acid. Okay? Sabi ngayon ni Lewis, sabi niya, hey, paano naman yung mga acids and bases na walang kinalaman sa proton? Okay? Kasi meron tayong mga substance na electron acceptor, electron donor. Anong sabi sa kanya? Di gumawa ka ng sarili mong theory. So therefore, sabi ni Lewis, acid ka basta ikaw ay electron acceptor. At base ka basta ikaw ay electron donor. Yan ang sabi niya. So these are the different theories regarding acid and bases. Okay? But I have a tip for you in the board exam. I want you to remember this box. Okay? Anong nakalagay sa box na to? Proton, donor, acid. Kasi kapag alam mo itong magic box na to, alam mo na lahat. Okay? Bakit? Kasi kung ito ay proton, donor, acid, kabaliktaran niya, proton, acceptor. Okay? Kung ito ay proton, donor, kabaligtaran niya, electron, acceptor. Proton, acceptor, electron, donor. Okay? Kasi in case lang mapag-mix-mix mo siya, just remember this box. PDA, proton, donor, acid. Alright? So that is regarding your ionic equilibrium. So we go now to salts. So pag sinabi po nating salt, hindi ba? Salt refers to a product of neutralization reaction. Ano po ba ang ibig sabihin ng neutralization reaction? Di ba? This is an example, the thing that we have discussed. Neutralization reaction is an example of a double displacement reaction. Double displacement reaction, wherein an acid acts with a base in order for us to form salt and water. So salt is a product of neutralization reaction, a combination of an acid and a base. So that is the salt. So ito ang aaralin natin ngayon. Okay? So we have three types of salt. Neutral salt, acidic salt, and basic salt. Okay? So sabi natin, salts are products of combination of acids and bases. So therefore, iba-ibang combination ng klase ng acid and base will result to a different type of salt. So, remember this. Strong acid plus strong base equals neutral salt. Strong acid plus weak base, acidic salt. Bakit? Kasi po yung acid yung strong, kaya siya acidic salt. Kapag weak acid plus strong base naman, yung base naman po ang strong, kaya magre-result siya into basic salt. So I want you to memorize this. Strong acid, strong base, neutral. Strong acid, weak base, acidic. Weak acid, strong base, basic salt. Okay. So ngayon, ang problemahin natin, how would you know which is a strong acid and a strong base? Okay? So how would you know? Sino yung strong acid, sino yung strong base para alam mo yung ilalagay mo dito. Okay? So, anong sabi ni Squidward? Naalala nyo pa ba? Or huhulaan nyo na lang sa exam at isusuko ang 3 to 4 points. Ayoko na isuko nyo because 3 to 4 points would be 3 to 4% of your board exam score. It can either make or break you. So pangalagaan po ang kada punto sa board exam. So here's the rule. Remember this by heart and by brain. Para matandaan, i-recite pagkagising sa umaga at bago matulog sa gabi. Okay? So meron ka nang gagawin. So, strong bases. Lahat po ng hydroxides ng group 1A and group 2A. Lahat ng hydroxides ng group 1A and group 2A. Alright, so again, hydroxides of group 1A and group 2A. So isa-isahin nga natin, sino yung mga members ng group 1A? Hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium. So ibig sabihin, lahat ng hydroxides nito, strong base. Ano pa? Group 2A daw. Beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, radium. Lahat ulit ng hydroxides nito, strong base. Kapag wala dyan, edi weak base. Okay? So let's have a test. Tignan natin. Sabihin nyo kung strong or weak. Okay? Radium hydroxide. Radium hydroxide. Correct. Strong base kasi radium, group 2A. Magnesium hydroxide. Strong base kasi group 2A. Aluminum hydroxide. weak base kasi wala siya dito. In fact, aluminum is group 3A. Kaya hindi siya kasali. So it's a weak base. How about calcium hydroxide? Sodium hydroxide. These are strong bases. Basta po hydroxides ng 1A and 2A, strong bases sila. Okay? How about strong acids? We have a mnemonic here. Actually, this is my own mnemonic. Okay? HCB NIPS. CB NIPS. You have your C for HCl. This is hydrochloric acid. B for HBr. This is hydrobromic acid. N for nitric acid, HNO3. I for hydroiodic acid. P for perchloric acid. Kindly take note of the molecular formula of perchloric acid. It's HClO4. And lastly, S for sulfuric acid. It's H2SO4. So tandaan po yan. So I'm going to give you an acid. Tell me if it is strong or weak. Ang strong lang po, CB-NIPS. Pag wala sa CB-NIPS, automatically, that's a weak acid. Okay, sample. Hydrochloric acid. Correct, strong acid. Boric acid. Weak acid, wala siya sa CB-NIPS. Remember, it's not boric acid that is included in the CB-NIPS. It's your hydrobromic acid. So wag kalimutan. Sulfurous acid, strong or weak? Sulfurous acid. Weak. Okay, weak. Kasi ang strong, sulfuric, not sulfurous. How about chloric acid? Strong or weak? Chloric acid. So, weak acid po. Okay? So, tandaan ha, ang strong po is hydrochloric and perchloric. Yan ang strong. Okay? Not chloric. So, wag po kalimutan. So, remember this CB-NIPS. Alright? Pag wala sa CB-NIPS, it's a weak acid. Alright. Alright, so let's try these examples. So these are types of salt, and I want you to classify them as to neutral, acidic, or basic salt. Okay? So, paano po ang unang gagawin? So kapag nakakita po kayo ng salt na ganito, una mong alamin saan siya nanggaling. Tandaan na ang isang salt po ay manggagaling sa isang base at acid. 'Di ba? Sabi natin, neutralization reaction, acid plus base equals salt. So meron ka ditong salt. And then aalamin natin saan siya nanggaling. So clue po. The cation portion will always be coming from the base. The anion portion, on the other hand, will always be coming from the acid. So kapag NaCl po yan, yan ay nanggaling sa NaOH, yun yung Na, okay? And HCl. Okay? Ito naman yung Cl. Okay? So ito yung origin niya. Then, after that, alamin mo. Kung alam mo na yung kanyang origin na acid and base, i-classify mo na ngayon. Oh, sodium hydroxide, strong base o weak base? Part ng group 1A, so that is a strong base. Hydrochloric acid, part ng CB-NIPS, so that is a strong acid. Anong sabi natin? Strong acid plus strong base, that will be resulting to a neutral salt. So therefore, NaCl is a neutral salt. So ganun po sasagutan ang board exam. Okay? Kindly try magnesium carbonate and aluminum sulfate. I will give you 3 minutes for that. Alright, kaya pa ba? Kaya mo yan. O yung mga nag-aantay lang ng sagot ha, try to answer it. On your board exam, I won't be there. As much as I want to be there to help you, I cannot be there. So, kaya po ituturo ko na sa'yo lahat para kahit mag-isa ka doon at wala ako doon, you'll be able to answer it. Alright? So, kaya mo yan. Go on. All right, so let's try to answer them. Magnesium carbonate. What's the first step? Hanapin kung saan nanggaling. So, this is coming from magnesium hydroxide. Okay, magnesium hydroxide. And this one, CO3, coming from carbonic acid. Okay, so classify. Magnesium hydroxide, strong base or weak base? Group 2A, very good. So this is a strong base. Carbonic acid, kasama po ba yan sa CBNIPS? Hindi po. So kung hindi siya kasama sa CBNIPS, it's a weak acid. So again, strong base plus weak acid, yung base yung strong, so you will have a basic salt. So magnesium carbonate, basic salt. Tama naman, because magnesium carbonate is used as an antacid, all because it is basic. Next, you have your aluminum sulfate. O, saan kaya ito nanggaling? Sabi natin, alamin kung ano ang reactants or saan nanggaling. So this is coming from aluminum hydroxide. Very good. From aluminum hydroxide. And your sulfate coming from your sulfuric acid. Correct. So therefore, classify. Aluminum hydroxide, strong base, weak base. It's a weak base because it's not coming from group 1A or group 2A. Aluminum is from group 3A. Tama ba? Boron group yan. Your aluminum. Tama? Okay. So it's a weak base. And then your sulfuric acid, my dear students, kasama po ba siya sa CBNIPS? Yes. Siya yung S doon sa CBNIPS. So therefore, it is a strong acid. So therefore, weak base plus strong acid, what's the result? Yung acid yung strong. So this is an acidic salt. So aluminum sulfate is an acidic salt. That's how you're going to answer the board exam question. Mukhang mahirap pero kayang-kaya. All right? All right. So let's continue. Next topic, the review of different constants, okay, and pH concepts. So when you say Ka, it's called your acid dissociation constant. When you say Kb, it's your base dissociation constant. Remember that you will only have a dissociation constant when you are talking about weak acids and weak bases. For the reason that weak acids and weak bases do not dissociate completely in a solution. Again, they do not dissociate completely. That's why you will be needing an acid or base dissociation constant in order for you to identify the concentration of the component ions of your weak acids and weak bases. Okay? So, kung mapapansin nyo, ang mga strong acids and strong bases po, wala silang dissociation constant because they will dissociate completely. Okay? In short, for example, HCl. HCl is a strong acid. Pag yan ay nilagay mo sa isang aqueous medium, the hydrogen and the chlorine will completely separate. So malalaman mo yung concentration ng bawat isa kasi maghihiwalay sila pareho. As opposed to your weak acids and weak bases, when you expose them in aqueous medium, they will not dissociate completely. So meron kang matitira na parte ng isang ion sa kabilang ion and vice versa. So therefore, you will be needing a dissociation constant in order for you to identify or determine the concentration. So again, board exam pabaon. Pag nakakita ka ng Ka and Kb, that's only applicable for weak acids and weak bases. Naintindihan po ba? Okay. Next is Ksp. Ksp is your solubility product constant. All right. So we go now to the basic pH concepts. All right. Ano naman po ang mga basic pH concepts na meron tayo? Okay? So, this formula here, pH, that is equal to the negative logarithm of the molar concentration of the hydrogen ion concentration. This formula is only applicable for strong acids. Why? Because for strong acids, sabi natin, they will dissociate completely. So you will be able to determine the exact concentration of the hydrogen ion. So therefore, gagamitin mo lang itong formula na to kapag ikaw ay merong strong acid. Okay, that's going to be your pH. Doc, paano naman po pag meron akong weak acid? Ano naman po ang formula ko? Almost the same. Okay? pH of weak acid is equal to the negative logarithm of what? The square root of the Ka times the concentration of the acid. Okay? So sabi natin, di ba, pag weak acid po, lagi kang may Ka, your acid dissociation constant. Kaya po itong formula na to for weak acids lang. Okay? So the square root of the Ka times the concentration of the acid will give you the hydrogen ion concentration. Get the negative logarithm of that, you will have the pH. Okay? So, when the pH is equal to 7, you call that substance neutral. If it is less than 7, acidic. If it is greater than 7, basic. Okay? So what do you call this scale? May pangalan po yan. You call this your what? Very good. Your Sorensen's pH scale. Okay? So yan po ang tinatawag nating Sorensen's pH scale. All right? And the last topic is about nuclear chemistry. Oops, wag pong matatakot. I'll try to make this as easy as possible so you'll be able to get a high score in the board exam. Okay? So let's define terms first. In nuclear chemistry, there are two important terms that you need to know the definition. Number one, radioactivity. This refers to the decomposition process of unstable nuclei to a more stable ones. Again, decomposition process of an unstable nuclei to a more stable one. So, ibig sabihin, yung unstable nuclei na meron tayo, it will undergo decomposition reaction. Okay? So, isipin mo, masisira siya. Pero this is an advantage because the resulting product from the decomposition reaction is a more stable one. You call that radioactivity. And during the process of radioactivity, habang nade-decompose po yung isang unstable nuclei, it releases energy. Okay, kahit na anong reaction naman, di ba? Pwedeng mag-emit or pwedeng mag-release ng energy. So in this case, while radioactivity is happening, it releases an energy. And the energy being released is called radiation. Okay? So ganun lang siya. That's the difference between radioactivity and radiation. All right. So we have three types of radioactivity that you need to remember for the board exam. alpha, beta, and gamma radioactivity or alpha, beta, gamma radiation. Okay. So pag sinabi po nating alpha radiation, what does it mean? Okay? There is a release of an alpha particle. Ano po itong alpha particle na to? This is equivalent to helium. Okay? But it doesn't mean that it is exactly helium. Equivalent lang. Doc, bakit siya equivalent? Because the number of protons, okay, or the atomic number is 2, and then the mass number is 4. So dahil radioactivity ito, we're talking about decomposition. So in short, Doc, pang-board exam po, when we talk about alpha radiation or alpha decay, it only means that the mass number of that substance will decrease by 4 and the atomic number will be decreased by 2. Bakit? Because it is similar to helium. Okay. So, example po. Example. Meron ka ditong element X. Element X po, ang kanyang atomic number ay 17. Ang kanyang mass number halimbawa is 32. Example lang po. If element X will undergo alpha decay or alpha radioactivity, what will be the resulting element? It will now be an element with an atomic number of 15 and a mass number of 28. Doc, bakit ganyan? Sabi natin, alpha radiation. Pag alpha radiation or alpha decay, atomic number minus 2. 17 minus 2, 15. Pag alpha decay, mass number minus 4. 32 minus 4, 28. So, ganun lang po sasagutan sa board exam. That's your alpha radiation. Pag sinabi naman po nating beta radiation, okay, mass number is the same. But this time, atomic number will increase by 1. So let's have an example. Ulit. Halimbawa, element X ulit yan. Atomic number 17, mass number 32. If this element X will undergo beta radiation, what will now be the resulting product? So, sabi natin, atomic number increased by 1, mass number stays the same. So, if this element X will undergo beta radiation, this element X will undergo beta radiation, what would be the resulting product? An element with an atomic number of 18 and a mass number of 32. Again, beta radiation, atomic number increased by 1, mass number the same. Naintindihan? And lastly, we have gamma radiation, wherein there is no change in mass number and atomic number. So if you have, again, element X with an atomic number of 17 and mass number of 32, if this will undergo gamma radiation, what will be the resulting element? The same, atomic number 17, mass number 32. That's your gamma radiation. Okay? So, exercise po tayo. Okay? For example, you have here element X, Y, X. Ngari, element X, Y, X siya. With an atomic number of 56 and a mass number of 181. After a certain radiation, or radioactivity, it became another element with an atomic number of 57 and a mass number of 181. What type of radioactivity occurred? So tingnan ang nangyari. Mass number stays the same. Atomic number increased by 1. Ano po yan? Beta radiation. Very good. Okay? So that's how you're going to answer board exam questions. All right? So, let's talk about now units of radioactivity. We have two types. the non-SI unit, and the SI unit. The non-SI unit is Curie, abbreviation CI. And 1 Curie is equal to 3.7 times 10 raised to 10 decays per second. Tandaan po ito, ulit-ulit ito lumalabas sa board exam. 3.7 times 10 raised to 10 decays per second. We have a newer unit, which is the SI unit. Pag SI unit naman po, becquerel. Wherein 1 becquerel or 1 BQ is equal to 1 decay per second. So tandaan nyo lang, si Curie, sobrang tanda na niyan. So nung panahon niya, wala pang SI. Kaya pag sinabing non-SI unit, that's your Curie. Pag SI unit, we're talking about becquerel. Okay? Pag sinabi naman po na unit of radiation damage, yung sira na pwedeng i-cause ng radiation, you call it your REM. What is REM? Roentgen equivalent in man. So again, radiation damage, REM. Roentgen equivalent in man. Pag ang tanong naman po, unit of amount of exposure to radiation, that is your rad or gray. Amount of exposure to radiation, that is rad or gray. Okay? So application po. Have you heard of radiotherapy for cancer or radiation therapy for cancer? For example, patients with extensive tumor, patients with lymphoma, Hodgkin's or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, or any cancer that is susceptible to radiation, then we do radiation therapy. So in this case, we expose the patient to radiation or radiotherapy. So therefore, when we expose these patients to radiation or therapy, we measure the dose of radiation. So what's the dose of radiation? It is measured in terms of rad or gray. Bakit? Unit of amount of exposure to radiation, unit is rad or gray. All right? So please memorize this by heart and by brain. All right?